Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Flesh and Blood and Bone podcast. And today, I'm a sock. It'll make sense later. Today, my dad's special effects makeup artist Tony Gardner and I sit down with legendary makeup effects artist Bill Corso to talk about the lost cult classic Freaked. Bill got his start in the 80s and worked with other legends like V. Neil and Rick Baker and truly learned from the best of the best. Those of you who have seen movies such as Deadpool and Lemony Snicket's A Series of Unfortunate Events would be familiar with his work, the latter of which winning him an Oscar for Best Makeup Effects. In Bill's early career, he and my dad both worked on the 1993 film Freaked, directed by and starring Alex Winter. In this episode, before we dive into Freaked, we chat a bit about how Bill got his own start, how he and my dad met, and a little bit about their work on the Blob together, which I personally found fascinating. If you're listening and you're unfamiliar with the movie Freaked, I don't blame you. Allow me to give you some important context. The movie was originally greenlit by 20th Century Fox, but as Freaked began production, the executive there, Joe Roth, who approved Freaked's budget, was replaced by Peter Chernin, who did not like the movie. I believe the movie went into production with their budget, but the post-production budget was slashed in half after the movie was shot. This led to a chain reaction of many ideas getting canned, poor testing scores, and further loss of support from the studio that once loved this film. Eventually, Freaked was released only on 2 screens in New York and Los Angeles. There was virtually no marketing or a proper theatrical release of the film. This led to a very dedicated cult classic following from those who did see the film or could somehow get their hands on it. And finally, this year, through Alex Winter, Umbrella Entertainment, and Disney, they just released a physical 4K remaster of the movie with a bunch of amazing, never-before-seen bonus features. That would be one way to watch and support the movie, but if you're itching to watch this monster movie sooner, you can watch it on YouTube. Now that that's out of the way, let's get to introducing you to our very special guest, Bill Corso. I'm so excited to have you here, Bill.
I'm so excited. Oh my gosh. I've been begging to come on this show.
I know, and now we have like the perfect one. Well, you guys have worked on a lot of projects together, so it's kind of just...
We worked on a couple for sure.
Figuring
that we can remember.
Yeah. No, there's been a few.
And for people who are listening who have probably seen your work in many movies and television shows, but aren't familiar with you, the person, Bill Corso, could you tell us a little bit about you and like how you got into special effects makeup?
Well, I think it's the same story as we all have. Like I was a little kid who loved monster movies and loved movies and monster movies. And I drew a lot. So I was a little artsy kid. So I drew a lot of monster movie stuff. and I was around 7 years old. And I discovered that there was such a thing as makeup, like movie makeup. Like that was like the epiphany moment. It was Young Frankenstein. I saw Young Frankenstein, and I know exactly the timeline because I was in first grade, 7 years old in first grade, and I saw Young Frankenstein, and there was a book at the book fair that had a picture of Young Frankenstein. So I bought the book to copy the picture. That's all. But in the book was how to do monster makeup and how to make myself look like Frankenstein, paper mache Frankenstein head, and how to make myself look like, the Dracula or the Mummy, or do a Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde transformation with the blue and the red lights. And, so I did all that. I just did everything from the book, and I was obsessed. Yeah. And then my dad, God bless him, is a plumber who said, this is a real job. Like you could do that. Like, you don't have to be a plumber. Like, you could do, this is way more fun, Because I would go on a plumbing job with him, as dads do, kids do with their dads, and he would dig a ditch, and, like most kids would be all excited with the tractor and the digging the ditch, and that was cool for me for like a minute. And then in the ditch was clay in the ground, and I would get the clay, and I would start... I would start making a thing, And so, so he was like, okay, this is not for you. This is not for you. Or I'd be on the truck with the plumber's putty and like glue and making weird stuff. Yeah. So, and then right around that time, it may have even been that year, I found Famous Monsters on a newsstand. And that was just like, like gobsmacked moment. So kind of put all that together, and I was in.
Yeah.
So then at that point it became, every year of school is like, how much longer does school have to go before I can get out and start doing this makeup thing for real? So everything I did in school was a monster or makeup effect type of thing. So it was like, that's all I remember. It was like every year was like, I don't remember normal school at all. I remember what I made.
Nice.
And I made like Star Wars came out, and if you know your Star Wars law, they didn't get the toys out fast enough. Like they couldn't get the toys on the shelves fast enough. So I make my own Star Wars toys. It was just like the clay you would buy was just like, like the little blue, yellow, red clay, the little,
Oh, that's all they had
and
back
I would
then.
make like a little blue stormtrooper, like a little blue and yellow. And I didn't even have the wherewithal to paint them yet. And then I figured out, I can paint them. So, so I would make my own toys. My family they just recently sent me photos of me playing with, when Empire Strikes Back, I made my own Yoda and my own Tauntaun because they didn't come out. And so like my little clay Tauntaun, my little clay Yoda, and So
That's cute.
Yeah, that was great. And my first paying job as a makeup artist, I'll never forget, was, ironically now, is 1983 for my the big talent show in my high school. I was a sophomore, I think, but all the kids and friends of mine were doing Thriller because Thriller just came out. So I made up everybody as zombies for Thriller.
Wow.
And so I got paid. The dad of the kid who played Michael, the white little kid who played Michael, he gave me like $25 for like materials for making all their zombie makeups. Yeah.
Wow.
And that was my first paying job. Yeah. Oh,
Wow.
the irony.
The irony, yes, because for those who don't know, Bill Corso just worked on the Michael Jackson biopic. Is that how you say it? Biopic?
Yeah, biopic.
That's
yeah.
coming out, which is crazy.
Yeah, amazing. Full circle. Yeah.
Now you're done.
Yeah. Now I'm done. That's it. No more.
That's it.
And so since then, yes, I moved out to California. That was all in Florida, by the way. And then I moved to California right out of high school. I didn't go to college or anything. I just wanted to, because from what I understood from Famous Monsters and Fangoria, that I was way behind. Like everybody was really young, already in the business. Rob Bottin was 19 when he did The Howling, and I'm like, God damn, I'm way behind, Mom. I gotta get out there. So I just came out here right after high school, and I went to the Joe Blasco School because at the time, like there was only like one or two schools that taught movie makeup, and so I felt like I needed to learn the right way to do things because I'd just been doing everything in my garage.
Yeah.
And even my dad was like, well, you got to go learn the right way to do this stuff, because you're just making it up. And only to find out, as we all know, there's no right way to do anything. It's just a good way, like your way, So, but I did learn beauty makeup, and I learned all that stuff that I didn't know, which was great. And then just, slowly started to try to get into the industry. And now here I am.
In this very room.
Yeah.
I've
made it to this level.
Moment on our
This
podcast.
is the epitome of my career. It's this moment.
It is. It really is. No, it's not. And so for those who are listening as well, my dad and Bill have known each other for for a very long time.
I
want to know the story.
So I started, trying to get jobs. I couldn't get a job to save my life because I didn't really know anybody. My roommate at the time was working for a very well-known makeup artist who was a teacher at Joe Blasco's named Matthew Mungle. And my friend Russell Seifert, who is a great mold maker, all-around guy, the sweetest, funniest guy in the world, had an interview for a movie coming into town that was going to start being done by Lyle Conway. For those of you who don't know, Lyle Conway was the effects genius behind, he had just done Little Shop of Horrors, but he had done The Dark Crystal and Dream Child and Labyrinth? Yeah, Labyrinth, I believe, as well. So incredible sculptor, designer, and he was coming into town to do a big movie, effects movie, and he needed a crew because he normally worked in London, in England. And so my friend Russell got an interview, and I begged him as a roommate, please take me with you, because I'm nobody. I mean, I have no name, no reputation, no nothing. I hadn't done anything, and I just begged him to go with him to the interview as a friend.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So I went with him. He, finally consented, and he went in and spoke with Lyle. I forget where it was, at a hotel or something, and you went in and spoke with him. And then I went in and sat down with him, and we chatted for a while, and then we left. And then I got called to be on the job, and the job was the Blob remake.
So it was the Blob.
And that was the Blob. And that was 1987,
yes.
I think at the time, maybe?
Came out in 1988, done.
No.
It came out a few months after we finished it.
Oh, right. It might have been the same year.
It could have even been 86 when I interviewed. I mean, because our pre-production and build was like 8 months. I mean, it was a long time.
Yeah.
From almost like when I'll never forget. So I was hired under Lyle's crew, of which there were I think there were 7 of us. And we were asked to meet. By the way, Russell was really upset with me because he did not get hired.
Oh, he didn't.
Yes,
You went in
very
for
mad. He did not get hired because first of all, Lyle was interviewing thinkers and artists who were could think and work outside the box. And Russell was a lab technician and an amazing mold maker and craftsman, and Lyle didn't need that. He wanted people that could just problem solve and come up with gags.
I see.
Because his job was the Blob.
Right.
And no one knew what that was yet. And I asked him, I go, so why were you hired? He goes, well, it's a big gelatinous thing with tentacles. And I just done Little Shop of Horrors and I can do tentacles. So that's why I was hired.
Yeah.
It's a big thing with tentacles. I'm like, okay, cool.
Valid.
And I think I was just like, I was in so awe of him as an artist. So yeah, so on that very first day, I was asked to report to Hollywood Boulevard.
Ooh.
Just off of Hollywood Boulevard.
Oh, right.
To a warehouse on Orange Avenue.
Hudson Street.
Hudson Street, thank you.
Yeah.
And Orange is where I was living. And Hudson Street, and parked my car and walked into a aircraft hangar of an empty warehouse, and in it there were only, if I can remember correctly, you can correct me, there were 2 tables. There was a table in the middle of the place on one side, and there was a table on the other side, and I saw a couple of guys over there, and I saw a couple of guys over there, and then I saw Lyle, who's kind of a big guy. He looks like Santa Claus.
Aww.
And I headed towards that table. and that was the Blob crew. And I remember asking, who's over there? And they go, that's the makeup effects crew being headed by Tony Gardner. So yeah. And so I didn't realize we were occupying the same facility. They just stuck us there.
Yeah.
And that was the very first day. And that was like, yeah. And we'd have chairs. We just sat on the table and stood around and talked about what everybody's responsibility was.
Wow.
And it was horrifyingly.
They literally just started the show, and they had no money, and Lyle didn't have a shop. I didn't have a shop.
Yeah.
So
was that your first big show? Like,
by myself?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd only done little stuff like the Half Corpse for Eternal Living Dead, but that was just me using Rick's shop at night for like a couple of weeks, and that was the extent of it. And this was the first time that there were more people than just me and my friend to be responsible for.
And I just remember dreaming that I was on his side. Because they were doing the cool stuff, like the makeup effect stuff. And we didn't know the people, and we didn't know what the hell we were doing. Literally, it was like the first day. I don't know. Again, you guys were probably talking about fun, cool stuff that we can relate to. Our conversation was, okay, and I'm not joking, with all respect to Lyle. This was the conversation. Everybody got an assignment. It's like, okay, they're going to be miniatures. Greg Jean, famous miniature guy who did 1941 and like all these amazing movies.
Close
like,
Encounters.
You're going to coordinate all the miniature gags we do with Greg Jean. That's your job. Okay, great. You guys set up the mechanical shop. That's your job. Okay, great. We're going to make lots of tentacles. Start making tentacles. Richie, your job is there's a scene where the Blob comes up out of the sink and grabs this guy and jerks him down through the sink. Sculpt a little maquette of that. Okay, that's your job. He just went down the line, and Dick Smith told me about some cool gooey product that goes inside the freezer bags. This is your job. You go look into that. Look at that stuff and figure out what it is. And then I was like the last one. I was like, okay, what's my job? And he goes, okay, Bill, there's a scene where the Blob kills a woman in a phone booth. He crushes the phone booth. He slithers across the street and goes into a storm drain. I go, yeah. And he goes, figure out how to do that. I was like, but what's the Blob? And he goes, I don't know. Come up with 5 things and I'll pick one. And I was like, what?
That's insane.
That was literally my first day.
That was literally
great.
your first day? Oh my God, I thought my first day was hard. Jeez.
That's so funny.
That's crazy.
You know why we were all in that building together, right?
No.
Greg Cannon was originally supposed to do the makeup effects.
Okay. Did Greg know Lyle? Were they friends?
No.
Okay.
No, but they had divided it up because
Like, why
the
wouldn't Greg
schedule
do
was really tight.
Okay.
And Greg was going to do the makeup effects, and Lyle was going to do the Blob effects.
Okay, right.
And then there were a couple blob effects that Greg didn't have any interest in, like the projectionist and something else. So Greg's like, well, let's bring somebody else to do that. So I was the pickup guy.
Okay.
Pick up some stuff for Greg, and Greg was going to do the bulk of it. And then Greg decided that he didn't want to be involved with some of the people that were involved with it because they'd been on a previous film together.
Sure.
And he didn't have a very good experience.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
So,
and Greg was known for being that way, I guess.
Yeah.
Kinda.
Okay.
He was
and the
a
guy
picky,
that
choosy kind of guy.
Yeah. So they asked if I would take over Greg's stuff and then find somebody else to do the projectionist and whatever else that was supposed to be mine. And then over the really short period of time, it was like, I was like, well, it's got to look the same. So that crew should be in the same building. Mm-hmm. If you're renting a building for all of us to work in, they should be part of that. And then it's like, if they're part of it, why aren't they just part of the crew? Right. So then all of a sudden I had all the makeup effects and they put me in the same building with Lyle because I was 23 or 24. And they're like, if this kid chokes, Lyle will be there to hold his hand. Right. And Lyle will be there.
I'm stressed for you.
Yeah.
And
so you're 22, 23?
I was 23.
Because I think it was like 19.
Yeah, see, and
18.
then you're like talking about all these people you see, and you're like, I'm behind. And then I look at my dad, and I'm like, well, my dad did the Blob when he was 23. I'm 28. What am I doing?
No, totally. I was like, okay, go. Yeah, but I was 18, I think.
That's crazy. Okay.
So after the Blob, I was lucky enough to get a job with Rick Baker on Gremlins 2. Very excited. That was for me. That was like I was done. Like that was my goal in life, was to work for Rick Baker. It was to be like Rick Baker at one day. So I'm on Gremlins 2, and I got offered to do my own movie, to leave Gremlins 2 to go do my own little movie, which was called The Boneyard, which was this little creepy little horror movie, which happened to be directed by a makeup effects guy, James Cummings, who's at the time very well-known makeup effects guy. He had worked on The Thing and, a lot of movies, and then started doing his own movies. He did the movie House, which was great, a movie called Strange Invaders, which was really great. Again, really, really cool work. But his dream was to write and direct and make his own movies. And so he wrote this movie, got financing, and asked me to do the effects for it. So I went and did this little movie, much to Rick's chagrin. Rick was not happy I left. So I go and do that movie. And it was a huge learning experience. Again, when I'm 19, 20 years old. But I was good because I was sticking true to my doing my own show when I was 20, 21 years old. I was trying to stay on Rob Bottin's timeline. When I came back from that, I happened to meet Steve Johnson at a dinner at Gladstone's on the beach. Yeah, that's with my buddy Russell, who took me to the Blob.
Oh, and then didn't get the Blob
because he was working at Steve's, I think.
Oh, okay.
I was going to say, did Steve hire you and not Russell again?
He was hired Russell, and then so I met Steve, and I was a big fan of Steve's work. Steve having done Ghostbusters and Fright Night and The Abyss and Big Trouble in Little China, again known for his visual style. Steve's work always looked cool. It was always really in your face, aggressive and fun, and big mouths, really great stuff. I was a huge fan, and I was really excited to meet him. And he said, well, why don't you, I was telling him about this movie I did. And he said, well, why don't you we didn't have phones to show pictures. He said, why don't you come by the shop and show me some pictures of what you did, or show me some stuff. So I brought a puppet of this little Chinese ghoul kid. It's like a little 8-year-old kid that I made a puppet out of that you could puppeteer and everything. It was really neat. And he lost his mind over it and offered me a job on a commercial they were doing for Foster's Beer for the Super Bowl. And it was a 1-day sculpting job. And I think I was there for 8 years. I never left. It was like a couple of years into working with Steve's, we got Freaked. Freaked came along.
Yes. So similar to the Blob, it's crazy that your guys' first experience with each other is a movie having multiple shops come on. And then once again, the next time you see each other is multiple shops taking on another equally ambitious special effects project.
On Freaked.
Yeah, on Freaked, yeah.
Which was not the norm, right?
Right, not at all. Yeah, and the Blob, technically, we weren't two shops because I didn't have a company and Lyle didn't have a company. We were hired by the production company to be their employees in that warehouse. So now it was like, okay, we all had our own identities and we're brought back to divide the workload on this film and and each take a piece of it.
Freaked was interesting in that it's the first time I'd ever heard of the directors brought on a makeup effects coordinator guy whose job was to oversee the makeup effects for the movie because it was so extensive that what they had put in the script. And up to that point, from my understanding, an artist by the name of Screaming Mad George,
right,
who is a really fantastical artist and did crazy stuff. He'd worked for Steve, actually, in the beginning on Big Trouble in Little China. If you remember Big Trouble in China, the flying eyeball thing that talks to them and it's got all the eyeballs.
Yes.
He did that, right? So his style was like way outside the box. And that's what those directors liked. You know, they were on MTV at the time and they were doing these little shorts and interstitials and they were really fun and crazy claymation and all this zany stuff. And George was exactly the style they were looking for. The artists that they referenced a lot were like, Big Daddy Roth and Basil Wolverton and Robert Williams, all these fantasy artists who had, eyeballs floating around and just giant tongues and, monsters driving little cars, like lots of crazy stuff. And so when we first met with them, this guy, Tom Ranoni, comes in and says he's hiring different people to do different things and gave us basically like a menu of like, here's 4 things we think you guys will be good at. And give us a bid, do some drawings, and let us know what you think. And here's the script, and not knowing that, they mentioned George, but I didn't know about Tony at the time. Like they were maybe they did. So I don't know how it worked, but we were just given our couple of little things and I just started sketching. I think that's how it started.
How did it start for you, Dad?
It's kind of the same thing. I mean, they came to us and told us about the project and
you had a shop. Now this time you had a shop.
Yes.
Yes, we'd started Alterian proper at that point, so we were like a business.
Alterian Ghost Factory at the time.
That's right, I remember.
Yeah. They came and talked about the different characters in the film, and I think because we had done some work with J.B. Rogers for the Farrelly Brothers.
Oh, sure.
And done a bunch of animal stuff, they were keen to have us do like the 2-headed chicken, and there was going to be a frog guy. Maybe we could do something with that. And then there's a dog boy, and then there's a cowboy, and a worm man, and it was all sort of more animal centric.
I didn't even think about that, but it's true.
It's a lot of animals.
And then they threw in things like Rosie the Pinhead and the Paul Lynde skeleton and just other odds and ends. But I remember us doing designs for things that didn't exist. Like there was a Potato Man. And I remember we did designs for Toad because they didn't know what Toad was going to be, how toady he was going to be, and whose shop was going to do it.
Right.
And I think, did that go to George or to you?
That went to George.
Okay.
Yeah.
The Toad Man?
Yeah, George, if I remember correctly, George did Toad, Ross the eyes.
Yes.
Yeah. And Nosy.
Yes.
He did Brooke Shields' monster legs.
Oh, right.
Yeah, which were great. Okay, so going back to us. So from what I remember, up to that point, Steve's shop, and I think many shops at this point, you did one show. Like we concentrated on like that whole time, like a couple of years I'd been there, he did one show at a time. All the artists would concentrate on that show. But the makeup effects business model, it's not really designed for making money. Unless you're Rick Baker and you can charge millions of dollars.
What?
You're not really making a huge profit. So Steve came up with this idea, like if we do a couple of shows, we'll make twice the profit, and the overhead will be covered, and I'll actually make some money. And I think at one point he was like, if we do 3 shows, I'll have triple the profit. So as it happened, we had been offered Pet Sematary Part 2. So the shop started working on that. Then we had this interview for Freaked. And you know how when you get a show, you're not really sure how big it is yet or how extensive it is. So we start doing drawings for Freaked. And all of a sudden, we get a call from John Landis saying that he wanted us to do stuff for this Innocent Blood movie, which was going to be his vampire version of American Werewolf in London with extensive makeup effects. And we're like, holy cow. Now you start breaking it down and it's like, there's a lot of work here. So we had to hire a whole bunch of people. And Steve's idea was, well, we're just going to put somebody in charge of each movie. Like we had Bart Mixon, who's a great artist, who was like the shop foreman on Gremlins for Rick. he had his own shop at the time, and he had done a bunch of stuff, but he was there. He was given Pet Sematary. So Bart was overseeing all of Pet Sematary. This is, of course, all with Steve making all the artistic decisions and running around the shop, And then Innocent Blood was going to be Steve, because John Landis needed to make sure that Steve was there, because he had done American Werewolf with Rick. He was on set the whole time, Steve was. So he knew John really well, and he wanted to make sure that anything happened, he was there with John. So that left Freaked. And since I was, at that point, I was almost like one of the art directors, I was put in charge of Freaked.
Oh.
And that's how that started. So, and my first responsibility was figuring out Alex's makeup, because he's directing the movie. So we had to figure out, okay, he's got to direct in this, and came up with a bunch of drawings and, the old fashioned overlays, the acetate overlays. And it was, I remember taking a Polaroid of the sculpture and then drawing on the Polaroid, like that's, or blowing it up on our copy machine, black and white, like all grainy, and then drawing on that, it was
great.
like so high end, and then colored pencils, and
all our stuff was colored pencils.
Colored pencils was so cool looking. So that was how we started everything, and testing and coming up with stuff. And I think he picked Steve to do the big monsters, because again, Steve's aesthetic was big monster, scary stuff, and
exaggerated, really cool.
Yeah, really fun.
Dynamic.
And he brought in, you had some amazing artists. The more, every day I hear about a new artist that worked for you, but Steve had some incredible artists he brought in to work on that stuff. Norman Cabrera, who used to work at Rick's, who was amazing. Mike Smithson, who is an amazing freaking artist. We had Jim Cagle, who was like one of the best sculptors in the business. Sculpted those giant heads, the monster heads, and you look at him, you're like, that's totally a Jim Cagle sculpture. He just had a great style about him. But when you walked in and we started doing maquettes, like all the small versions of the characters and everything, they were so much fun to look at. And like, it's like, when you saw the old Star Wars figures, and they were conceptualized, it's these little clay heads, and that was, to me, one of the most fun parts. But trying to figure out the makeup was great. And Alex, God bless. Look, we got so lucky that Alex was the director of this movie, because Alex Winter loves makeup, and he loves movies, and he's like Lon Chaney me, man. You can torture me. I love it. I love it. He was so freaking excited.
That's rare.
Yeah, it was great.
Yeah.
It was great.
That's crazy.
And he was that enthusiastic all the way to the end.
Yeah.
Too.
Wow.
It never wavered.
They were look.
He just got tired, but he never wavered.
Yeah,
rightfully so.
The enthusiasm level of that movie, looking back on it, that movie was so much fun. It was so much energy, because we were all really young.
Yeah.
They were young directors. They were like so amped up,
So
and there's
ambitious.
so many of us on set.
Yeah, and you look back on it, and you Catherine Hardwick was our production designer.
Yeah.
Who was phenomenal, and an amazing director. A phenomenal talent, and so inventive and clever, and coming up with stuff. And you just look back at some of the people that worked on that movie, and it's just, there's so many amazing artists, and the fact that they got all that money to make this movie.
Yeah.
Being as weird as it was.
Yeah.
And then we were able to get really cool cast members too.
Yeah, the casting was phenomenal.
I think so many people don't realize Keanu Reeves is in this movie.
Yeah.
I am Ortiz, the dog boy, leader of the freaks.
Because
I was excited to
Dog
see
Boy.
in this new DVD, this 4K DVD that came out, which is freaking, if you don't have it, you have to buy it.
Yeah, it's amazing.
Which is phenomenal, by
Umbrella Entertainment.
Umbrella Entertainment. God bless them. They put this thing together, but in it, there's this little making of book and everything, and there's all of these makeup tests of Keanu, which I didn't know about, are fantastic.
That all happened in one day,
One day.
Saturday at the shop, because his schedule was so tight.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Was Keanu at this point?
From what I remember, Keanu had just done Dracula. So he's huge, Keanu, at this point. And his agent said, you absolutely cannot do this movie. And he goes, I'm doing it for my buddy Alex.
Aww.
Yeah. Like, he almost was going to go uncredited. Or did he go uncredited?
Yeah. That's a good question, actually. I don't know.
I think he said, I won't even take credit. I just have to be in it for Alex.
I looked into this, and it turns out Keanu is not credited on IMDb officially, but it is mentioned on Wikipedia, of course.
But we'd worked with him prior to that on
Speed.
Speed, and then before that on Feeling Minnesota. He was the same level of communication and calmness and coolness.
That's cool.
Through that, 8 years or whatever span. And then we worked with him again on Bad Batch, and we were catching up about like stuff from Freaked. It was pretty funny.
No, he was great. I mean, you had Margaret. I mean, you had, again,
and Vince,
so
Chad.
many talented people worked on that movie.
Lauren
That's
Giffins.
crazy. So, from a budget standpoint,
it wasn't that big. I look at it now, and
the amount of work that was done for what they probably had. Yeah, it wasn't like it was like, oh, it's a ton of makeup effects. Let's give them $1 million. Yeah, no, I don't think it was that.
Okay.
Wasn't the whole budget like 15?
I thought it was like 11 or 12.
10?
I also looked into this, and some sites online say it was a $12 million budget. Other sources say it was $13 million. For a frame of reference and guesstimating for inflation, that's around $27 million-ish, give or take. It may seem like a lot of money to you and me, but 20th Century Fox was producing films made with a then budget of anywhere between $10 million to $16 million as sort of an average. And for context, other heavy practical effects films made by 20th Century Fox around that time were Edward Scissorhands, which has a reported budget at the time of $20 million, and The Mask, which has a reported budget of somewhere between $18 and $23 million. So Freaked was definitely on the lower side of a budget for them for the amount of huge practical effects and makeup effects that are in that movie.
For that time, for that little low-budget movie, is a lot. I mean, it's a very visual movie. And if you watch all the great documentaries and making-ofs on that amazing DVD, they talk about how inventive everybody was and being clever about saving money and...
Actually, I think somebody referenced the fact that E.T. had come out and the movie cost like $10 million, and then Freaked came out and it was 11. So I think you're right. And it's like, look at the volume of stuff.
Yeah, so much.
Above and beyond, you know.
Yeah, so many things. And
it may have also helped by having the 3 different shops. I mean, I think it helped maybe divide things up and parse the monies out maybe a little bit. And it also, I think it was, I mean, on our end, it was like, oh, cool. We now get to show off and let's impress the other effects guys.
Right.
Oh, that's cute.
Yeah, which is great. I mean,
and you're not burning out.
Yeah.
As much.
Yeah.
As much.
You know.
There's still so much.
Yeah,
to
I
do.
can't even comprehend if we had to do all that stuff. All the stuff that you did was
No way. Not in the time that we had.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because it seemed like we had too much stuff to do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think we all did. I think we were all pushed to our limits. I think they figured it out pretty.
Yeah. No, I'm telling you,
well.
this Tom Renoni guy, and again, if I didn't say it before, character. If you watch the movie from Texas, big time Texas.
Oh, okay.
You know, let me tell you something, boy. If you watch the movie, he's the one tongue kissing the goat.
Oh,
I forgot.
In the carnival sequence, they had to put in a cameo of him. And
did
you make the goat?
Also,
No.
who made
Is it a
this
real
goat?
goat? He's like tongue kissing, like
Yeah.
yeah.
I think somebody had it. It might have been George, actually.
Oh, just had a goat.
Yeah,
And
it's
was like,
crazy.
let's stick
He
That
with
is
had two
Tom.
faces that you couldn't see the other face.
Isn't
That's
he
right.
a part of
There's a
this?
two-headed goat.
Isn't he a part of this band that Alex and Tom had done this movie, Coming to Texas, the barbecue movie?
It's quite possible.
And
There
Oh.
must have been a way they found him.
The
And-
Butthole
Yeah, they'd
Boys
worked with
or
him before.
something?
yeah, and he
Okay.
loved makeup effects. He knew everybody. He was like a great ringleader.
There's so many characters, and there's like especially for you, that's like, how do we talk about like all 7 characters and not exceed like a 5-hour podcast? But I guess like the question is, what was something that was like unexpectedly challenging, either with a certain character or like even with Alex's makeup? Because you watch it, especially the remastered version, and like there's so many details, there's so many animatronics, even like in certain shots when Alex has something in his hand and then there's goose spurting out, like something else is moving. It's just like everywhere you look, there's something happening.
Yeah.
We filled those frames.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
It was a Mad magazine come to life.
Yeah, it was a cartoon.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Live action
It was a
cartoon.
live action.
That's what it feels like watching it. But
That's what they wrote.
Yeah. I went to you very rarely when you read a script and you go, how the hell are we going to do that? I remember going to a screening once at the Egyptian Theater.
I think we went there.
Yeah,
that was
Yeah.
my very first experience
Okay.
watching this movie, by the way.
Okay, fine. That was awesome. And
Yes.
packed.
Yeah.
Right? And the autograph signing afterwards and like
Yeah.
all the people, the
And they had
line out the
cups.
door, like to, how what a cult movie this became. And seeing everybody like loving the movie, and you're
yeah,
like,
you don't expect it. You never know if it's going to happen.
Yeah.
Anyhow.
I just remember thinking like, no one's going to see this movie.
Yeah.
This is like, we put all this work into this. I just remember it being so much fun and just working around the clock. Again, I remember my schedule because I was doing, and looking back, I mean, we couldn't make that movie today, but it was a non-union movie in Los Angeles.
Right.
So we could all be on set and do the makeups and everything.
Right.
I'm not a union makeup artist, but I was there doing the makeup.
And we had armies of people doing all that stuff.
And it, again, if you did that, it would cost, exponential
So
amount of money.
It'd be impossible.
But I remember I overcomplicated that makeup on Alex so much. It was so time consuming. And to save time, I would pre-paint. That's the very first time I ever pre-painted anything to save time. I didn't never even thought about that. And I also remember having this epiphany moment. Like, luckily on Gremlins 2, like I consider myself a pretty decent artist. But on Gremlins 2, I was working with artists that were of a very different caliber. Steve Wang and Lenny McDonald and Aaron Sims and these guys who were like just beyond what I ever thought I was. But I learned as much as I could from them. And I learned how to paint like unlike anything that I'd ever dreamt about painting. Like Steve Wang, who painted The Predator, teaches you how to paint a gremlin. And you're like, it's not like 2 colors, 3 colors, 4 colors. It's like layering of colors that just made it look like 1,000 colors. I mean, it's like pixels on a TV. It's like just a whole different thought process. So I remember thinking we got into Freaked, and as I was painting, I'm like, well, why can't I paint this like I did there? That style of painting. Granted, it's not a spotty gremlin, but the principle's the same. Like the technique could be the same. It's just doing it. The finished product is different. It's a skin tone, or it's a monster makeup. But I could use those same techniques. It takes a little while longer, so I can't. If I did this on set every day, it would take 8 hours to do this.
Oh my God.
But if I pre-painted it, I could do all these layers and over paint it, like really make it intricate and beautiful,
and really rich,
and like if you're rushed on the day, matching it is really hard, and there's all these complications. And that's why I think up to that point, when you saw makeup in the movie, you're looking at 1 or 2 colors. You're looking at a base tone and a shadow color and maybe some details. But it really, if you think about it, and up to that point, my favorite makeup I'd ever seen in a movie was the movie Legend, right? I thought those makeups were like the best ever. You look at The Devil, Tim Curry, The Devil, and the Meg Mucklebone's Witch is my favorite. And like those makeups are phenomenal makeups. They are literally one color with shading.
Right.
It's like red with black shading or green with
black shading.
Yeah, it's like they're very simple. The design is so incredible and so strong. That's all it needs. But up to that point, paint jobs were not that realistic or that detailed. If it was fleshy, it was just a skin tone, So I remember thinking, and Freaked was the first movie I remember thinking about. It's like, I'm going to try to make this look real, like, and try to put all this detail into it. So I spent 6 hours pre-painting the foam pieces for Alex's makeup. And it just looked, I could never have done that on the day. There's no way. But it's all painted now, and it packs paint, everything, and I could just glue it on him and a little packs and, to blend it all off. And it was great. It still took 3 hours or whatever because it was complicated because there was a lot of bits and pieces, but it just gave it so much more detail and and then we just carried that through with all of our stuff.
I
remember what makes it a live action cartoon is all that richness.
It's so bright and colorful.
Like it's crazy. So I'm gonna age myself here a little bit. Born in the late 90s, whatever, it's fine. My boyfriend last year introduced me to this movie I'd never seen before called Dead Alive. And I was like, what the fuck is happening? Like,
so good.
As soon as you think it takes it to the next level, then it outdoes itself. And then by the end, you're like, what the hell? And Freaked was really similar. Like, okay, I like literally forgot about the giant monsters, Ricky and Stewie at the end. And I was just like, whoa. And it's similar to that, like, and I just, it blew my mind because when you look at it, there are so many colors, there are so many details, and you go, how the hell did they do this?
Even in the wardrobe. And then blown up wardrobe on the monsters.
It's crazy. But detailed painting is like totally.
It's funny looking back. That's the one thing artistically that I remember from that was trying to put that much level of detail into stuff that I never had normally done, or
Yeah.
I really hadn't seen it done. Like, so I just thought, I remember Steve at one point saying to me, that we were doing the chess piece for Julie and Ernie. They're joined together. Like, it was a big foam piece to join the two of them. And it was a beautiful, fleshy paint job, and it was laying there on the counter. And Steve goes, go do your Bill Corso thing to it. I'm like, what is that? I don't know what that is. He goes, go put your spots and shit on it. Because I had been doing it's like, again, we always look in the mirror, but it's like, I have freckles and moles and, so I would always put like freckles and moles, and that wasn't a normal thing.
Make it real.
Yeah. Just make it real. Adds discoloration. Steve was very big on blocks of color. Like, you look back on some of his movies, like he did a movie like where all of a sudden I was like, I'd seen zombie movies, and then I saw this movie Dead Heat. And if you look at Dead Heat, this movie Steve did, the zombies were like real zombies. Like, all of a sudden they look like they're right out of a forensic book.
Yeah.
They're just gorgeous. And he had a way of like painting things like really splotchy and broken up and really colorful. And he had this big thing, like he never wanted to see one color. It had to be blocks of color. So he would just say, put all that detail shit that you like, that you do. And so I went in there and I put moles and freckles and, and redness and all this weird stuff. And it became like now it became like a really detailed piece, and it was perfectly fine before and would have worked fine. And especially in the lighting. So it was all of us trying to, and everybody did that. Everybody tried to just elevate everything,
Yeah.
But you go to set and the production design and everything inspired you to.
Yeah, it was that good.
What I specifically really loved was the worm, man.
Genius.
The cowl that you guys did, so that also he could go to the bathroom and things like that, was like so seamless, like smart, like hiding the fold of the worm into where his cowl ends, and then the blend of his face into those is great. And then also the cowboy is like the idea of taking the mouth from where his mouth as a person would be and then extending it and having it actually be animatronic. Like, that's what made Cowboy
amazing.
Like,
no, it's amazing.
Our first design wasn't that, though. It was more like Island of Dr. Moreau, Manimal.
Right.
Sort of flat with a bovine upper head, kind of bigger with ears that stuck way out.
Was it always your plan to flock it and make it look like so cool?
Yeah, I was really, for whatever reason,
You
I was
were
really
really-
into the fur stuff, like with Keanu and the
Yeah,
cow.
yeah.
I realized, though, on the cow, I think we had already done Mom and Dad Save the World.
Oh, right.
And
That
we-
stuff is great too.
We had these bulldogs, and we realized that if you flocked the white areas on the skin, it went flat, and you had to repaint all
the detail. Yeah.
Yeah, and
You
just
lost all the sculptural.
yeah, and flocking in a light color tended to just literally go flat.
Right.
So like, okay, well, we stopped flocking on the dogs, and then when we got to the cow, it's like, let's figure out what, the paint scheme in advance, because they wanted to do a dairy cow with spots.
Right.
We ended up flocking just the dark areas and leaving the rest smooth, so you see the leathery skin and all that kind of stuff. And it was like just enough of a balance to kind of work, but we were always kind of questioning, do we add the long eyebrows and the weird muzzle, whiskers and stuff like that? How far is too far? Because it's supposed to be funny.
Well, they are, and it's about their caricatures. Like
at a certain point, it was like, all right, scale back on the realistic stuff and go for something.
Did the guys ever dictate any of that to you? Like,
no, I think we just kind of like figured it out as we went, and they were on board.
Because you did so many. I didn't realize how many tests you did looking at some of those films.
Keanu was the only one where it was really more of a group decision, where it's like, what do we want him to look like?
Did Keanu have a say, or did he just say?
He would say what he liked and what he thought was cool.
Aww. He would just be like, that's cute, and that's it.
But like, originally it started out, I forgot who wanted Dog Boy, like traditional, go to the sideshow, see a dog boy. It's basically a human face
with all the hair.
With all the hair. Then it's like, well, that's just a guy with hair.
Right.
How about like a dog nose underneath that and maybe some teeth? And then, well, let's add pointy ears. And then, we had done Mom and Dad Save the World, and it's like, well, let's do a bulldog that pushes it in a totally different direction, so you can compare. And then I got into the whole flocking thing again, and I was just like, this would be kind of cool to do. Not necessarily like a werewolf, but more like a Doberman.
Yeah.
Because the character was being developed at the same time, and he started out.
Did that inform Keanu's voice? Because he plays it kind of regal and everything.
Yeah.
Like, you know.
Yeah. Also his accent.
Yeah. He's almost like he's supposed to be like a Colombian or somebody from the south of the equator, like a drug lord.
As a white dude.
Ortiz.
Dog man. And then his name became Ortiz. Yeah. And then that sort of defined who he was. And he was put in sort of like militant clothing.
Yeah.
You know, and
Che Guevara.
Yeah. And for some of it, he actually had like a headband.
Right.
Yeah.
Holding all his hair back and stuff. And it really became about how do we not just make him a dog, but make the dog a character? And then that's when it got really fun.
Did they ever say to you, like, it's got to look like Keanu Reeves?
No.
Keanu's in the movie, it's got to look
like him? I think at the very beginning.
Or do we have to disguise him?
You know, I think they debated it. And then once we did the very first one, with just the hair on, though, it's like, well, that could be anybody.
Well, because some of the newer ones, some of those sketches I saw, the tests you did, were like more fleshy. Where it's like a weird... like the Alan the Dr. Moreau version,
right? But as soon as like all the hair went on, you kind of lose the forms of the features.
But it also made it like a very new thing. Like I hadn't seen that before. Like that was a really cool character. When you said Doberman, it's like it did.
Yeah.
It looked like this great.
And he would like snarl and snap.
Yeah,
like Doberman,
and his teeth showed up really well.
That scene when they're on the bed and they're like, it's so cute. Wait, so with flocking, I imagine that takes so much. Which could you explain for the class of anybody listening what the fuck flocking is?
Flocking is cutting. Let's say you want to give somebody short fur that's maybe a 1/4 inch long. So you would take hunks of hair, wefts of hair, and you would shave off a 1/4 inch section of this thing. And you would just keep doing that until you had basically this bucket of stubble. And then the goal was to take that hair and put it on somebody's face so that it laid smooth and flat and was directional. So if you wanted to electrostatically flock something, you would have somebody hold on to a charge and you'd use the electricity in their skin to help the hair stand up on end. You'd paint a layer of glue on their skin. You would release the hair into the air, and it would stand up on end.
What?
And then you would take a comb, and you would brush that back in the direction that you felt the hair should be growing, so that it's not sticking straight out like the person's been electrocuted.
That's literally science.
Okay, so it's basically every toy you had as a kid that's fuzzy is flocked.
Yes.
Right.
But that's like a little nylon flocking material as opposed to hair.
Yeah.
So they would flock toys with it that were fuzzy, you know.
Kid appropriate.
And you'd be like, oh, it's got this fuzzy texture. I love that.
I see.
So it's just the same principle, but with hair. And so you could make short beards with it. And,
they did that.
Yeah, you could do it really sparse and do really cool, like beards growing in and stuff like that. But I wanted it to be really thick.
Yeah.
For dog.
So, and we had started actually on Rick's for Beauty and the Beast, doing all his facial hair was chopped hair. It was crimped, then it was chopped, and then you would do a section in glue. You'd take the hair and you'd pull it apart, make a ball, take the ball, tear it in half, push that half ball into the glue, pull it straight out.
And the hairs would just stick straight out. And then the glue basically dries.
Yeah.
And then the hair just sticks out. And if you get it in that perfect area where you could put it in a direction, then it dries. Then you have hair direction.
Wow.
Yeah.
So that's what we did. We didn't have Keanu hold an electrode.
Yeah.
We would do the whole makeup, and he's covered in foam at that point.
Oh, good. So it's not just on his
makeup
skin.
on,
Yeah, I think his chin was him. But we would just do a section at a time with glue and with
How
flocking.
long did that take you guys every day?
I want to say it was like 3 hours.
Okay, so you both every morning were like, giddy up, girl.
But it's mostly one person. I think Vince Prentice did him almost every day.
We all had our duties.
And then Keanu had a stand-in. It was this tall, skinny guy who was just white skin. And we're like, why is he the stand-in? Why don't you have somebody with darker skin or somebody, whatever? And then the day where they're shooting the group shot of all the freaks against the circus background, Keanu wasn't available because his schedule was so tight. They brought in the stand-in, and we made up the stand-in with prosthetics. And I'm like, this is horrible. It's a skinny face, and it doesn't look right. And if you look at the photo, it's like, that's obviously not Keanu. You could actually tell that there was a difference. But the most ironic thing of all of it is his stand-in was Johnny Knoxville.
That's really funny.
And we've tortured him with so many old age makeups and everything.
It's foreshadowing.
Wow.
And that's where we met and didn't even realize
that's
it at the time.
Wow. Yeah. So I feel like so many people met on this project because also you've worked with Catherine Hardwicke. I've worked with Catherine Hardwicke.
Well, that's where I met her.
I know. So I feel like it was the origin story for so many of you guys
a lot of people,
who keep working together.
Yeah. And I've worked with Alex countless
so many
times. Yeah, since then. So
yeah.
He's such a sweetheart. And again, like such a fan. I mean, and I tortured him. I mean, to be fair.
Yeah. Like, so where do you guys, like, what's the strategy in some of these makeups? Because not only is it prosthetics, but it's animatronics. And like, when I've talked to my dad before of like, okay, like if you're building out a person, like Sockhead, for example, is played by my aunt. Her name's Karen, and Karen Malkus. And it's easy when you're building out a petite woman. It's like, just throw some shit on her back because she's going to be a bigger person anyways. And like, not that I'm simplifying your job, Dad. And you can just have a big jacket. But like for Alex's animatronics, where did you guys put the packs? Was it in his hump or? So
that was, again, as that makeup evolved, when I did my test on Alex, the very first test was this kind of subtle, like a Two-Face, Batman Two-Face makeup. It was like just this half of his face, and it was like a little piece on his head, and it was his mouth, and I came up with this torture device, mouth teeth thing, because we couldn't figure out how to because they really wanted to do this Big Daddy Roth. Half of him was a giant monster, and it's like, well, all those guys have these big, huge mouths, so how to do that?
Yeah.
And I'd drawn all these pictures that. Again, in a picture, you can draw whatever you want. So
right.
All these pictures with this big, huge mouth, and they're like, yeah, that's really cool. I'm like, okay, how do we do that? On a person, I was playing around on myself and, making my own teeth and figuring out, well, if I got to make these big monster teeth. We first tried to put them on inside the mouth, but it's like, you're limited to the inside of the mouth. We're never going to get the big mouth. So what if we put it on the outside of his cheek? Like a zombie makeup. And then we did that, and then I'm like, okay, then, and you glued them on, and then you just kind of, and they're kind of wanky.
Hope that
and they're kind of sticking out, and they don't really sit where you want them to sit. And I thought, well, the only way I can get it to stay into his cheek is to secure them into his mouth, So I thought, well, what if because at this point I have like half teeth and then these teeth, but there's no purchase, right? There's just like a little connection point. And it was glued onto his face. So I thought, but if I anchor them, so I thought, well, if I make full teeth, so then I made gums for this side of my mouth. I just basically took a piece of acrylic and connected the gums to these teeth. And so it looked this weird thing. And when you put them in your mouth, it basically kept these teeth like indented into your face.
Whoa.
Depending on how long the little bar was, right? And so it was cool, but it forced your lip, like it was like
a fish hook.
Crazy, So it was crazy. So then when you did it on the top and the bottom, it was like this really cool. It looked really cool without a makeup. It just was a cool looking thing. You're like, wow, this is great. Like this big, huge. It looks like your teeth just
keep
became
going.
This huge thing. So we're like, well, we'll just put a thin makeup over it and paint it green and do this cool thing. So we did this test makeup, and there was a magazine at the time. We took all these photographs and we did a gore zone. And it was like this making of the makeup in gore zone. To this day, that's my favorite version of it because it looks really cool and the colors are really pretty and everything. And Tom and Alec loved it, and the studio loved it. And that was our proof of concept that we could do this mouth thing and make him look like this really cool guy. And we finished that, and they were like, "This is great, bigger. Like it's got to be bigger and more elaborate than this. Let's just push it as far as we can." Because he had a small ear. It was like a much smaller thing. So we're like, okay, so we'll make a bigger head and a bigger ear and make the teeth bigger. And, And at this point, we're like, the mouth got bigger. So it's like, well, but the mouth, it's just a dead mouth. It's like it's just like a mask. It doesn't move. So we thought, well, what if, I talked to the mechanical guys. I'm like, what if we put like an RC, like a little wire, a spring, just to make his lip move, just to give it some life. Like, yeah, we could do that. And we'll just glue it to his face, and poor Alec glue the RC, like a tube with the RC to his face. And then I decided to give him a hump. So he wore this hump with this big bone coming out of his arm, again, to make it look like the silhouette of him was this giant monster. So the hump was like, okay, we'll put a harness on him, and that's where the motors will go.
Yeah.
So and I said, well, if we're putting this lip thing, maybe if we'll put another one, we'll make his ear move. Oh, and we made the ears, like at Rick's on Gremlins, we had made these beautiful like polyfoam ears, but the way we built them up inside the mold. So inside we do a layer of latex, and then we lay in like fibers for veins, and and like, so when you poured the foam into them and everything and held them up to the light, they had veins in them and everything, and they were really cool. It was like backlit. They looked really cool.
Always backlit.
Oh, gotta have backlit.
Always
so we did that.
Lighting.
So the ears were really elaborate with veins in them and everything, and then I painted the hell out of them. And we had actually the lobe of the ear was a foam latex appliance that I put weights into. Oh, so the ear was soft and could like wobble back and forth like little testicles.
That's so smart.
That's great.
Yeah. So, and then maybe it was Alex. Can it like spurt? Can we have it like drip? And so we're like, okay, well, we'll run some tubes to it and make some of the pustules that I sculpted explode.
Wow.
For comedic effect. We're like, maybe when we need to punctuate, like like a mic drop, we'll just it'll leak or spurt. It would be funny. And so his hand, we did. So we just added that for all these gags. So whenever we would get him on set. We would make him up in the morning and bring him on the set. And then depending on the shot, if he had to speak, the teeth, we would put in the teeth, and they were called the House of Pain because they were so painful. Because he would put them in because they would click into place, and they were so tight to hold his mouth. And he would start drooling immediately because he couldn't close his mouth. So he would put those in, and then I had a remote control, and I would be behind camera or right off set or behind him, and I would do the ear and the lip. Oh. And so I had one was the ear, one was the lip. So and somebody else would have a syringe with the goo.
Oh my God. So you're kind of also matching his pace of dialogue.
Yeah, so I was watching him, and I'd be like just moving, the lip and puppeteering the lip.
Wow. Seems very Chucky.
Before SAG residuals.
Right, exactly.
Yeah. As a matter of fact, I got Taft-Hartley'd on that show.
Did you?
Because I got to be that was when I got in SAG. I got to be in the carnival.
In the crowd?
Atmosphere too. Yeah, I was a druggie that the people would stick needles into.
Oh, amazing! Yeah, which we didn't get. When I watched the.
It was cut out, by the way. In the movie,
So it didn't.
I have
it
photos.
Wouldn't have aged well.
But you got in SAG.
And I got in SAG, and I still get residuals. Great. I get like 15-cent residuals.
Oh,
yes!
Congratulations!
Maybe from the 4K, I'll get.
If you watch the bonus features on the 4K remaster release. There's so much as well. Like there's a board that Catherine and her team did of like all these different needles as well, and they're filled with different liquids and all this stuff that you actually don't.
So they were all stuck in me.
Yeah, all this stuff you don't see in the final movie. It's so detailed, but there was so much. It was like we didn't get to see everything.
Did you ever see the miniature set that she built?
Yes.
The model.
Yeah, amazing. Yeah, no, I did. Isn't that in the movie?
I was going to ask, is that the same?
There's one in the movie
it's not the same one she did, though.
That's like higher, but in the very beginning where she's like, here's the location where we're working and the hill shape.
Yeah.
So here's how everything's going to go. And it was all super tight. And you're like, how's that ever going to look big? Right. And then you go on
the way they shot it was so good.
It was amazing.
Yeah. It was really good. Back when Randy Quaid was still cool and normal and... I remember him being awesome. I think Alex had some stories about him being cranky, but
really,
yeah.
We didn't really have to deal with him too much.
Yeah, I thought he was great. He's been in a lot of big movies.
Yeah, there were a lot of crazy actors on this. Also, Ice-T or
Mr. T.
Mr. T. He was great.
He was great.
That dude was so confident.
So cool.
Everything he did.
Yeah,
I didn't care.
Apparently, at some point in the movie, he decided that he was done and he just left.
Oh, serious?
I don't think he finished the movie. He just decided he was done. He'd had enough and he left.
We here because of the money. I'm not here for the art. I'm here for the money. I need money. My children need money. They need new shoes. My mama need a fur coat.
But he was great. I remember sitting with him at lunch, and I was such a huge Mr. T fan because I grew up with him. I'll never forget seeing him on the very first time you saw Mr. T was a a bodyguard competition. And I'll never forget this because I used to be obsessed with like, you know, ABC Wide World of Sports with Howard Cosell. And they had a bouncer competition. That's what it was. A bouncer competition. And part of the bouncer competition was throwing guys out of clubs. And so the bouncers would have to get a person and throw them out of a club. And Mr. T won. He was the bouncer. And he threw a guy out of a club. And yeah, and so it was this normal sized guy. And he just throw him. How far they would throw him, like a javelin.
Wow.
Except there was a person.
That's amazing.
And so Mr. T was that's where he got discovered, and they gave him Rocky 3, and he was in Rocky from this bouncer competition. But I was such a big fan of Rocky.
And then A-Team and
the A-Team, and oh my God, so good. And I remember at lunch one day sitting with him and just being like him telling us stories. And you know, when I was a kid, I was you know, little T, and then when I was a teenager, I was teenage T, and he was just awesome. Like larger than life.
Yeah.
Like, you know.
I love Mr. T's character, the bearded lady, like because he's just got that voice.
Yeah.
And then he's like talking the whole bit of him being like, and now if you're an autumn color.
If your coloring is in the autumn range like Maria, I would suggest you try the earth tone eye makeup.
You know what? It's my one gripe with the movie, actually. What? And I only have one. Is because he go to the Freaks show and he was like, actually, I'm a lady. Like, and he actually liked being a lady. And so by the end, when everybody gets the good goop on them and they're like the regular versions of themselves, he should have been a lady.
I think at that point he was done.
Yeah. And so
I think that's what happened.
I think that really explains that.
I think that's what happened. I think that's where at that point he disappeared.
He came out, he did his poses.
You forget, I mean, looking back on it, I forgot that, you know, like William Sadler, you know, like there's, yeah, like there's so many actors in it, you know.
Larry
David, Larry Bud Melvin.
Yeah.
Larry
Melvin. Yes.
There's so many bit cameos and pieces in there. Yeah. Really, really great.
All the casting's amazing. Even Brooke Shields doing
Brooke Shields was
something
fantastic. You know what's funny? In the script, it's not Brooke Shields. Did you read that? You know, in the great DVD that we got, they have the script. And in the script, it's somebody, it's like Regis and Kathy or somebody. It's like,
really?
It's a totally different thing. Yeah.
Okay.
Oh.
No, Brooke Shields was great. I have the greatest memory in the world of Brooke Shields because I was, you know, in awe of Brooke, you know, like goo goo gaga over Brooke Shields. We did Alex's makeup in his director's bungalow.
Okay, bungalow.
Awesome. The sound stages that we shot at a little mini studio, right? Yeah. And so they had bungalows, and Alex's directing, you know, that we're here and talking about offices was our little makeup room in an office. And so we just converted it and happened to have one of the only showers. So when Brooke Shields is all gooed up with her legs, she got them removed and wanted to take a shower and used our shower. And I, of course, have to be in there prepping and making my, you know, painting and everything. And Brooke Shields comes out in the towel and her robe. And she's like, what are you doing? And like watching and asking me questions. And I'm just like, is Brooke Shields in a towel?
I'm trying to stay focused, lady.
I'm like, oh my God, this is the greatest day of my life. Yeah.
Oh, that's so funny.
Yeah, so great.
Is there anything that you haven't had the opportunity to talk about? I know you both did segments in the bonus features for the new Freaks 4K remaster, but like, is there something, just a funny story that, or anything like that of Brooke Shields in a towel?
It doesn't get better than that.
I know.
For me, it's like Sockhead. We were told the whole thing about Sockhead, and we're like, how are we going to do this? And it was a person with no head and a hand puppet where the head was.
Genius.
And so my whole thing was, let's get somebody really small and let's build up their body so that their shoulders are at their top of their head. And then if they wore a skull cap with a hand on it, that could be the sock puppet. And then if we mechanize that hand and put a sock over it, then we could put all the motors in all this empty space that's on the shoulders. And then we had issues with the figuring out the proper height and sort of faking a shorter
I would think the
person
proportions
to
would
look
really
bigger. Yeah, so it's
the
like,
arms and everything.
So
but it was great because the character was in waders. So the definition of the legs were gone, and we made these calf things that moved the kneecap up higher, and so it would bend where it needed to. We had lifts in these like work boots, And then I think we cast Bill Sturgeon's hands and made these gloves that Karen could wear to make her hands look bigger to match, the size of the hand puppet on her head. And Bill played when the sock gets taken off, Bill was actually the puppeteer of his own hand.
It's such a good gag with the blood.
And not can we at least say, and not to mention the genius of casting Bobcat Goldthwait as the voice.
Oh my God, yes.
Pretty brilliant. Yeah.
I forgot about that when I watched it again.
I first came here as a tourist, looking for some fun. Nice place. Then Elijah turned me into a sock.
But there's a scene where Sockhead is gunned down.
Oh my God, of course.
And it's like, well, we don't have a stunt person that can wear this. What do you want to do? Karen, are you up for
squibbing?
Being squibbed? What's a squib?
We're not going to take advantage of you at all.
It's kind of like a firecracker on a plate that's going to be attached to your body, but it's not your body. It's this other body in front of your body. So all this stuff will be going off, and it'll look like you're getting hit by bullets. And then all you have to do is kind of like be hit and then literally take a fall onto the ground. Mm-hmm. She's like, okay. Honest to God, all her movement.
So good.
It's from the squibs going off. She'd never experienced it before. And there were all these squibs going off and just banging her body around. And then she's got to, when they stop, she's got to like fall over. And she just fell over. And then they yelled cut. And we heard it's like, Karen, are you okay? And she's like, I had no idea what this was going to be.
Oh, no. Was she crying?
No, she was really upset, though. And then...
It looks amazing.
She did great. She did an amazing job.
Hopefully we got that in one.
Yeah, that was the next thing. She's like, do I have to do it again?
Please tell us we got that.
Yeah, and they're like, no, it was perfect.
Oh, so that one shot is what made it into the movie?
Yeah, I don't know that she would have done it again after experiencing it.
It's a lot of squibs.
Yeah, I mean, we thought it was going to be like
comical.
4 or 5.
It's The Godfather.
Yeah. It's like 20.
Also, it's the 90s, so it's not as like compact as how squibs can be today.
Oh no, it was the way we did it in the 90s. It was
and
crazy.
I don't think she had ear plugs or anything. It was just kind of like,
because it's loud too. Yeah.
So you're gonna go out there and we're gonna squib you, and you're gonna be blind, and you're just gonna explode.
Just react.
And then fall over, and you're dead, and you can't move when you fall over.
Yeah.
And she did an amazing job, but
whose idea was it to have the blood
in the mouth? I don't know. I don't remember
really
who it was.
It was like so obscure.
And it's just the perfect
I think it was Alec.
It was very funny.
I think it was Alec.
He should be coughing up blood.
Yeah.
Aunt Karen, by the way, like in the bonus features of the DVD, which everybody should go get, is a read through of like the whole movie with all the actors.
But they acted out too, don't they?
Yeah. It's like a big rehearsal. Basically.
I haven't seen that.
And my aunt is in there, and which is so funny. And I'm always told like I have her body type, and then I was looking at her, I was like, she's smaller than I am in this footage. Like, I believe that that's just
you used her a
reacting.
lot, didn't you? Like she was in a bunch of movies. Yeah. I remember
did.
you using her a lot.
Creature acting. We're gonna get her on
she's
the podcast.
She's so good in Suits, and she doesn't complain, and she's
wasn't it Sleepwalkers as well? And
she's Sleepwalkers. She was Tommyknockers. She was Headless Billy Butcherson and Hocus Pocus.
That's right.
Which
is basically a bastardization.
I was going to ask if you did that first, or if we did Freak first. Freak was first.
Freak was first, because then we're like, oh, let's take that same idea. And that's how we can do Headless Billy.
Yeah, it worked great. So mine is it always comes up, which is, so at a certain point, Alex being the director and lead actor.
Yeah.
So which means he has to be ready in makeup before they start the day. So he, as a director, he wants to be on set with Tom. He would kill him if Tom was on set without him. So he goes, I need to be on set, like first crew gets there so we can set up the day. So which means we were starting his makeup at 4:00 in the morning.
Jesus.
And then because it's foam rubber, it's a little time consuming to take off. You can't just rip it off. So it's like an hour plus to take it off at night. So at some point, as happens on a lot of movies, he got sick, and everybody gets sick. But this is the lead actor, director of the movie getting sick, the flu.
Oh no.
So he's in bad shape and losing his voice, and goes to see the doctor, and the doctor's like, you need sleep and you need to take it easy. And, well, I'm only getting 3 hours of sleep a night. He's like, yeah, no, you need more sleep. So I, genius, think.
It actually was genius.
Why don't you just go home in the makeup? Just sleep in it. And he, to his credit, said, why don't I? Sure. I go, think about it. It'll save you 4 hours of makeup in the morning, an hour of taking it off. I mean, it'll give you a lot more sleep. And I go, it's only half your face. So we're, because you're always worried about their skin can't breathe.
Right.
It's only half his face.
And the teeth are going to come out.
His teeth will come out. We'll take the hump off. We'll take the mechanics off. We'll coil up the RC, because that ain't coming off. We'll tape it to your back. And we'll take the hair piece off. I think we just lifted it off with a little alcohol. And I go, just go home. It's all packs. So it's not makeup is going to rub off on your bedspread or anything. And I go, just just lay there and go to sleep. And so he did.
Oh my God.
And he came in the next morning and he looked great. He like nothing was wrong. And I'm like, how do you feel? Well, I feel better that I slept. I'm like, good. And we gave ourselves an hour. I don't even think I needed an hour. I think I just touched up the packs a little bit, and a little makeup here, and we put everything back on. We put the hump back on.
That's great.
And he went to set. And so we wrapped that night. And he goes, what do you think? And I go, about what? He goes, should we do it again? And I go, how do you feel? He goes, I'd love to go home and sleep. And I go, well, it looks good. Why not? So we took the hump off, took the wig piece off, curled up the things, and he went home.
Wow.
Came back in the next morning, and it's like, he still looked good.
How many days did he do it?
So wait. So now I'm like the line is starting to go like a little like this, because I'm just adding a little bit more, and just finessing it and adding a little bit more packs, and cleaning up the line. And
That's
so
great.
the line it's literally like, it was this side of his nose, starts creeping over his nose. We put everything back on him and we shot the whole day and it was great. And again, he comes in and goes, you think we could try it one more time? Night 3? And I go, okay. It looked good. So we did, same thing. He went home and he slept and he came in the next day and it was like, okay, it's a little rough. But, a little more packs, a little more. Now it's like all the way over. So we fixed it up and he shot. And that night we cleaned him up. So he literally wore it 4 days in a row.
That's insane.
And it was great.
Wow.
But he slept and got better. And
That's
so
good.
he's great. So
Did you powder it and wrap in saran wrap or anything?
No.
Or just literally just.
Yeah, no, literally just, yeah.
Yeah.
It wasn't sticky or anything. So
That's
it was
great.
just, yeah.
Pax
So he just went
paint,
home.
man.
Yeah. He put a t-shirt on and, and he was great.
This man right here, who made this incredible face that I'm wearing, he's killing me. He has to work his butt off to touch it up every morning when I sleep in it.
Cut to my next movie, which was Stephen King's The Stand, like big epic miniseries. And I was doing Mother Abigail, which was this famous black actress, Ruby Dee, in a 4-hour old age makeup, full foam makeup. And she gets the flu. And I thought, I go, I did do this thing on the last movie where my actor needed sleep and he just went home. And she goes, can we do that? And I go, I don't want to make you do that. And she goes, I go, but we could just take your wig off and take your hump off and send you home. And she goes, oh my God, can we do that? I would do that. And I go, okay, great. so and that was more makeup-y. So we powdered her,
Oh, okay.
We took her hump off and
So many humps.
we took her wig off. And and she had a bald cap on and everything. And we sent this creepy old bald lady home. And then the next morning she came in and I go, well, how'd you do? And she goes, it was great. She goes, and she looked okay. The makeup looked okay. And she goes, but I don't think we can do it again. And I go, okay, is anything wrong? She goes, no, but in the middle of the night, my husband, Ossie Davis, who's a famous actor, got into bed and rolled over and saw this creepy bald old lady and screamed and jumped out of bed. She goes, I don't want to do that to him again. So I'm like, okay.
That's so great.
So we didn't do it to her again. But it worked.
See what Alex Winter
I
started?
know, but he started, yeah.
Yeah,
And he always goes back
Alex.
to that. So that's on the
Now,
DVD,
if you
kids,
don't
for
go
sure.
home and sleep in your
But it
makeup,
worked. It worked great.
That's
it worked great.
crazy.
We also found out, and the other thing was, the reason we called this teeth the House of Pain. So we had dummy teeth, which didn't have the bar in case it was a medium shot or a wide shot. So, but they were so painful is because they fit so tight, and they were hard acrylic. This is before we learned about liners and putting in Flexacryl or anything like that. So it was hard acrylic, and I would try to Dremel it out where it really hurt, but it still hurt. So, you know, they make this thing called Ambisol, which is numbs your gums, you know, if you have a canker sore. So we would just paint that on him, and it would numb his gums, and we'd pop them in. And it was great. And he's like, oh, that's so much better. And then at some point during production, when the doctor met with him, said, what's going on with your mouth and these sores on your gums and everything? So it turned out Ambisol eats away the gum tissue. And we were basically painting it on him every day and eating away his gums, and it was exposing nerves.
Oh my God.
No wonder it was really painful.
Oh my God.
So yeah, so we had to stop.
That's hilarious.
Alex, are you okay?
Yeah. House of Pain. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. No, it lives up to the name. Well,
Yeah.
at least you found out. What if you didn't find out?
Yeah, that was a surprise.
Where are those teeth now?
Oh,
God, I don't know.
Do you think he kept them?
No.
Alex
I don't know, maybe
smashed
Alex,
them.
I don't know. Yeah, he destroyed them.
He said,
Yeah.
you
They
can't
were
hurt
pretty-
anyone
They
anymore.
were pretty cool, though. Yeah. And then I started seeing them pop up in movies. Like, everybody started doing it.
Yeah.
You're like,
It became a thing. Yeah, that was me.
Well, what was the last one? It was Sinners.
Was it? I think it was in Sinners, yeah. I remember it was like in, like, the
Big-
Castle Freak was the very next time I saw it.
Oh,
Like, they did it.
Wait,
It was
what
really
in
cool makeup.
Sinners?
When the vampire's in the water and starting to become monstrous, but he's also dying.
At the end, yeah.
Yeah, at the very end, there's his mouth is giant. He's got all these pointy teeth. It's a very
And nowadays
Someone
it's hard to tell because that could be digital.
I literally thought it was CGI.
Yeah.
A lot of
so-
times nowadays it could be digital. Yeah.
Yeah. Which, that's a good segment.
But I've seen a photo.
Oh, it is
Yeah.
Oh, so it is
yeah.
practical.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, see.
Well, Mike, who did
Good
it, he's a good
really
makeup
good.
artist, good buddy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, as somebody who didn't live through the early 90s, like, it's so much different when you've lived through it and you've experienced it and are conscious while doing so. I didn't realize, like, the early 90s is, like, really such a turning point for CGI and also sort of practical effects, because, like, Terminator 2 is doing a bunch of practical that then also gets mistaken as CG because they were, like, doing new stuff that James Cameron learned on The Abyss, on Terminator 2. And I feel like when I was reading up about Freaked and movies at the time and all these things, I feel like there might be this sort of, like, shift, and not necessarily split, but you see movies around the early 90s where some are kind of leaning more into sort of CGI as well as practical, and then there are movies that are really still leaning on the practical side. And there's movies like, you know, Total Recall, the face thing is all practical, like, and Freaked is like, I can't tell you much of what would be CGI. But the look of everything that was leaning more practical around this time period, like, all looks like just so, and maybe it's what you were talking about with the painting and the detailed, because, like, the monsters at the end, Alex, like, is it because of the amount of people that were working on similar projects, but they all just have this, like, amazing, fantastical, like, quality that I can touch that I don't see coming back again after, like, the 90s. And before that, we didn't really have it other than, like, The Thing and The Fly. It was like, what is that? Because I don't know, I wasn't there. Is that anything?
I think technology just started to grow in the early 90s, and some people embraced it and some people didn't. There was no pressure to use it.
No, not at all. And again, that was available only to, like,
Big
that
budget.
was in its infancy, you know.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
that was even Jurassic Park. They were flat out never going to do that. It was all practical or stop motion,
Right.
which was still practical in a certain, they were making everything. There was never any thought of doing CG until they saw that test, which was like a snuck in there, like, behind the closed doors, like, you didn't see this. And then Steven saw it and said, what's that? So no, it was all practical. I mean, look, looking back now in the world we're living in now, which is all CG and AI, everything, and it's even going to go more so. It's like, we were so blessed to be, first of all, to do what we do in that time. Because coming into the business now and loving that stuff, like, if you watch Freaked and you're like, oh my God, I love Freaked and the makeup effects of Freaked, I want to do that. I hate to tell you. But that movie wouldn't happen now, or it would be digital, or it would be, so the fact that we loved it were born into that time and were able to work during the 80s to be inspired by the movies of the 70s, Planet of the Apes in the late 60s, and then the 70s with, you know, the Star Wars and all that, and then into the 80s with the big makeup effects boom, and those artists who created stuff and were the pioneers of all of that practical stuff, and to be able to work with them and to then be able to do our own stuff and branch off, and where filmmakers embrace that stuff, and it became like the selling point of the movie, where like makeup effects, like the movie was sold on the makeup effects, like that's what it was about, you know. That's why we have an Academy Award. It's not for doing great, you know, makeup or hair. It's about American Werewolf in London. It's about Heartbeeps. It's about, you know, The Nutty Professor. It's about these movies that were like, holy cow, you can't, that's an outstanding achievement. You know, like that is never, it's unprecedented what these artists created, and it's, you know, put on an actor and put it in a movie. And we're so lucky that we're a part of that boom, you know, that heyday, because it is totally different now, you know. And those movies that you mentioned, Jurassic Park and Terminator, like those were amazing hybrid movies, where they did do so much great practical, and they did have just enough CG to make it amazing.
Yeah, but Terminator 2 only has like 47 CG shots.
Exactly. So it's, and you know, even Jurassic Park has very few CG shots, but they're so amazing.
Right.
The rest of it's practical, you know, and as the movies have gone on, now they're all practical. You know, there's like, it's literally reversed. You know, there's like, you know, maybe 10 minutes of, you know, practical dinosaur stuff. They make a bunch of cool stuff, you know, and they use it for insert stuff and everything. But the CG is so good now. But I always go back to, there's the famous Roger Ebert quote, which is, and he said it of the time, but it still holds true, I think, in that stop motion, and it was about stop motion looks fake, but feels real. CG looks real, but feels fake.
Yeah.
You know, and it kind of is. It's like that video game, like a movie I just saw the other night, and it's like, it was the new Predator movie, Badlands. It's a great, fun movie, but it's a fully CG digital movie, you know, and it's like, I remember the first Predator is all practical, and you can't knock it. It's phenomenal and fantastic, and the Predator is an unprecedented design and cool, and you never doubt for a second that it's a real thing. And I'm watching this new one, and it's talking and really expressive and everything, but I'm like, but it's like a cartoon character. It's a really cool, realistic cartoon character, but it doesn't have what you said, that paint job. It doesn't have that realism to it. And by the way, the most amazing artists in the world did this.
Right.
You know, like Weta Digital and these guys they're phenomenal. I mean, the Planet of the Apes movies, the last Planet of the Apes movie that was all digital was phenomenal.
Insane.
It was insane. And it's like, there is amazing work, but it's not the same.
It's not the same
as the stuff that was back in the 80s and 90s.
I feel like I've only seen one thing where something that was digital felt real, and I think it's because it was motion capture, and I think it was because of the actor who did it. It was Bill Nye in Pirates of the Caribbean.
Oh yeah.
Oh.
Where he's playing the organ.
Yeah.
With his tentacles and the lighting and the movement and everything's wet and beautiful, and he's into the music.
And things are at the little
so
cool. And it's like, I don't know that I've seen anything since then where I felt like it was real. And I think what's cool though is like with those people are all supposed to be possessed and cursed and all that. So it gives you this.
It lends a little bit of. It helps you. Yeah.
It sort of softens the blow, and you can give and take with your sense of perception and what's grounded and what's not.
I mean, there's nothing better than that hybrid where it's a little bit of both, where you're faking the eye, and you don't know if it's real or not. Like, you know.
The Mask is a good example.
I was literally about to say, it was only like a year later The Mask came out.
Yeah. And again, they just developed all those CG tools on Jurassic Park, and they're like, what can we do next? And so that team did The Mask, and it's great. It's a live action cartoon, which makes you think of Freak now. If you did Freak,
oh my God,
how much of that would be, you know, digital, or how fun it would be. You know, I look back, going back to the Blob. It's like we think like, if they did the Blob now, it would be all digital. Yeah. And we just watch where, you know, the family is all amping up for Stranger Things season 5. And so we just watched all 4 seasons. We binge watched all 4 seasons. And, season 3, the Mind Flayer season, is basically like, how Stranger Things each season is like a whole bunch of movies from the 80s, and season 3 is full on The Terminator, The Thing, Aliens, there's like literally they're pulling huge chunks of those movies, and they basically do The Thing and The Blob in that season.
Oh, really?
And it's all digital, and I don't know if they did anything practical. But it's phenomenal, and it looks really good. And I watched it with my daughter. I'm like, that would be The Blob now. I mean, if they did a Blob movie, nothing we did in our movie looks. I mean, that's really cool looking. But it's like you could tell the people who did it love The Blob, and they love The Thing, and they thought, how can we do this and put our spin on it? Yeah. And it's phenomenal. It's like it absorbs people, and it does exactly everything, but it does it in such a really gritty, real way. And you're like, that is pretty cool.
Wow. Yeah, there's things you couldn't do.
I mean, there's literally a scene where it kills all these people and goes into the storm drain.
And you're like, that's my shot.
Oh my God, but it leaves behind all these bones of the people that it just ate. And like, that's really good.
That's great. Cool. Yeah. Which is what we did. Yeah. Well, there's that whole scene that didn't make it in where Kevin Dillon was in the truck cab and the blob comes over it.
Right.
And we had
Which is me, I think.
Which was that
that's me.
There were all these bodies floating through.
Right.
Some of them were just skeleton, but the skeleton was crystallized and translucent. And
so good.
Kind of stretched out. Mark Siegel sculpted that one.
Yeah.
And the water tank that we were going to shoot it in cracked that morning.
Oh, no.
They only had like 2 or 3 days left to shoot out the movie. And they're like, we'll never get it fixed. So we're just going to write the scene out.
What a shame. But pull up some of that Stranger Things stuff.
Though. I'm so curious.
It totally is that. And you're like, that is pretty cool.
Yeah.
But again, you can see it's the love for those things that we did. And
right.
How we were all inspired. They're now inspired. And so now they're doing it in a different medium. And
right.
Yeah. That's pretty cool.
Time moves forward, whether we like it or not.
Yeah. You just kind of have to embrace it and, and just have fun with it.
Bill, thank you so much for your time.
Oh my God, can I come back? It was so much fun.
No, I was going to say
what movie didn't we talk about?
We could keep talking for so long on this episode. And I feel like we also touched on so much more other than Freaked. But I would love to have you back on the podcast and just talk about your work and just have a more casual conversation where we get to talk about you and other projects and any advice you have for fellow filmmakers and special effects artists because nothing, because you've worked on so many. I think what's so interesting about you is you're so great, and also has made me listen. The prettiest I have ever looked in my lifetime was when Bill did my makeup for Zombieland 2. I was a zombie and I was supposed to be featured. That didn't happen. That's okay. I'm all good. But so my makeup had to be more detailed, and it was my first experience with you as adult Kira, and where I'm a person now, and whatever you did, I looked so good, and I still dream about that makeup.
Even with half your head falling off.
I looked so good. I was like, I don't know if this is peak. This is my peak. I felt so pretty. Not the point.
I have a habit of, my mom used to always say to me, can't you do anything pretty?
Oh.
And so I have this habit of taking the most beautiful women in the world and really deconstructing that beauty in such a way. I have a laundry list. I need to do a series of deconstructing beauty. Yeah. And you'll be there.
I'd love to.
Yeah.
That'd be great, actually.
Yeah.
But
starts with my wife. And then, I mean, think about it. I've got some famous supermodels that I've
Heidi Klum,
Taylor Swift,
right? Yeah,
Nicole Kidman. I've just
make
really messed up
everybody.
Shit.
Yeah, but your
I need
career
to go
path
into
is
fashion.
Yes,
I need to just totally
go. You could do a cool art
a
show
different way.
Together, you could do an art show, and it's a piece on. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know. But
I think a bunch of people in our industry could do a cool art show.
Yes.
Yeah.
But just your career is different from other people in the sense of I feel like I could be wrong and tell me if I'm wrong, but when you're an SFX artist and you're working at a shop, it's if there are next stages for a makeup artist, it would be to potentially open your own shop yourself, or you keep working with different studios. But then you've had this fascinating career path as well of really befriending certain actors that you come back and work with time and time again. And I don't feel like I know many other SFX artists who have had that.
There are, but that is a whole nother episode. Because
I could just
exactly.
So you'll have to stay tuned for when Bill Corso comes back on our podcast. Yay!
Bye, everybody.
Bye!